welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello everyone, welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Now it's not the Daily Brief. What do you say, Brad? This is the Broiler Chickens. Back, 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 back. Isn't that funny how your brain just sort of gets in? I'm trying to load up the YouTube stream at the same time, and it's like my brain, I just hit the play button, and then as I'm going through the words, I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't the Daily Brief. What the hell am I talking about? Anyway, welcome back to the Frivolity. Never a dull moment. This is such a screwy experience with the Beamish. Sure hope you guys are enjoying this. Geez, 10 years into this. I think I'm getting pretty good at this market analysis. And actually, I think I'm super pleased with the evolutionary step that we just took over this past week or so with the dashboard and the signaling system. And actually, I'm really excited about the direction I'm going to take these broadcasts forward. As you all know, the people who are watching this weekend show, all 6 of you, gee whiz, it's almost laughable. But I do know a lot of people say, Brian, I watch afterward because I can't stand to your rants. And if I watch afterward and I see you starting to head off on a tangent, I can always put you on 2 or 3 times speed, let you have your rant while you're going. All right. And that's how you make blueberries in Maine. Isn't that how that joke goes? Who can tell me? Actually, this would be really, if you like, I'll give you the hint. Saturday Night Live, who said that as a punchline to a joke? And that's how you make blueberries, or that's how you grow blueberries in Maine. Anyway, so here we are. It is Sunday. Technically a holiday weekend. I mean, I've been barking about this forever. It's funny how life works that way, eh? You just, it's kind of like kids, remember one time, this is how utterly alone I grew up. This is terrible. One morning on November 25th, I woke up and I was convinced it was Christmas morning. So that's how completely unattached I was with my family. Kind of pathetic. Anyway, did find out about for several hours later that, oh no, there's no Christmas, not today. Anyway, so but you know how kids are like, oh, 7 more sleeps till Christmas, or 3 more sleeps till Christmas, that kind of thing. Coming into this July 4th, knowing that usually crypto likes to seasonally pivot around this window. It's been it's been an interesting exercise to go, okay, just 1 more week to go, 2 more weeks to go, 7 days to go, 3 weeks to go. Well, here we are. We finally made it to this darn seasonal window. And if any of you are actually fancy yourself as sort of money managers, and I'll tell you, this period is really going to test those people who just are fly by night and well, hell, I'll go buy Gucci sweater wearers courses and I'll pretend that I know what the hell I'm doing in the market. Man, those people got punished hard. I hope a lot of them didn't end up in a bad situation. You don't really like to laugh, but at the same time too, if it's one thing you all can attest to, is I tried my darndest at the top of the market to try and convince people not to chase and try and act responsibly, blah, blah, blah. And you're supposed to be selling into rallies, right? If your assets double, I suppose if they triple, but there were a lot of assets this cycle that, barely got 2 doubles. And then that was it. I mean, there were some that did obviously do quite a bit more than that, but on balance, there's a lot of doubles. I suppose you could argue even something like Bitcoin probably what a triple, but I don't think we got a hell of a lot more than that out of this rally. So, if anything, in the newsletter here, I commented today, so I was kind of surprised to see Bitcoin and Ethereum, for that matter, not really break this cycle. And I guess the $64,000 question is why? Is there some way that Wall Street now can ensure that assets don't go down? And the answer, of course, is yes. If I ever ask a question like that, the odds probably are yes. And actually, at TRI, we follow this on a fairly regular basis. The games that they've been playing in things like these Bitcoin ETFs, I mean, just absolutely stunning numbers when it comes to options expiry. But in essence, they use these options to just basically manipulate price. Oh, that's too bad. I thought I had on a really big one. Well, anyway, this is just a small one. I don't even know how long ago this one was. Man, that's totally random information, eh? Anyway. All right. Well, anyway, I thought I was going to be able to show you a nice big list of options prices, but I guess I got rid of that from this chart. No big deal. Point here is, it is interesting to see. In fact, actually, this last options expiry, you can see where I was pointing out they had like a call wall. So they made damn sure the market was not going to go above that level. And they had a put wall. And they made damn sure the market would not go below that level. And really, what have we done here over the past, 3 or 4 months? Just banging away sideways. It's not really. Unfortunately, I can't even really get bullish of an image like that. In fact, somebody even on social media, and I probably let's move away from here and let's go back to the newsletter because this is really where we should be focusing our attention. So, I put this tweet out today. We're kind of flirting with some troubling levels here, folks. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I was actually quite surprised to see this is a weekly price chart. These are clotheslines. Like big banks, Citigroup, JP Morgan, and all those clowns, right? They're the ones that are going to be looking at these kind of price charts. If this M confirms here, that's a bad sign, folks. It really is. And unfortunately, you see how long this M took to develop. It might take just as long to actually put in a W and start breaking higher on good momentum and volume and stuff. I wouldn't really be in a huge hurry to expect a hell of a lot here. Honestly, I don't think the story is Bitcoin now. I mean, you see where our bottoms were back in 2023. And I remember distinctly, this was through the whole SBF trial and all that nonsense. And I remember distinctly, we even had a colorful expression, right? Did you get your skirt together? I don't know whether the lady that was on the website at that point is even paying attention to a guy like me anymore. I remember, I can't remember what her name was. Mr. Short-term memory, way to go. Suppose that's a sign of age. Anyway, the point being that, it was a beautiful buying window. And actually, we took like sort of an idiot approach to investing on the altcoins, and I even had a big chunk of money stolen from me through this whole DeFi experience and ledger wallets and all that kind of fun stuff. And I was still able to bang out, I think, a double right now on that money. I tell you, that's including having money stolen from you. So the fact that I had money stolen from me and I can actually still show a profit, hey, that's not a bad thing. But most of these positions were acquired through that window. And actually, interesting. I'm hearing a lot of really negative rhetoric around Tether lately. So be careful, everybody. I did actually tweet out. I'm not quite sure. I guess over here. I think it was yesterday, the day before. This guy, when he did his study, and he's a bit snarky, he's a bit sarcastic, he's a bit a wordsmith. I wouldn't want to get into a jousting match with this guy. He could probably talk you into the ground really easily. But when he did his report on Saudi Arabia and that funny little city nonsense that they were floating there a while ago, I mean the report that he did, and I even tweeted out, I was like, this is absolute gold. It's just brilliant. But I hate to say, he did a report here on Ethereum and this whole sort of, well, not Ethereum. I should take that back. On DeFi and the criminal enterprises coming out of Asia, and the stories are just staggering. Oh my God, they're evil as fuck. Really, really bad. Said, the worst part about this, folks, is that I've been in this space for 10 years. Big Brother definitely listens to me. And I'm sure they've got a nice list of charges that they're ready to slap on me and throw me in the jail if I ever step on any political toes or anything. I know it for certain, but anyway, it doesn't matter. I would say that the consistent theme in this crypto story since I've been here, basically since day one, is there is a lot of criminality in this space. I mean, it goes without saying, the venture cap space. I don't know whether you ever watched that movie. What's that movie called? That was not funny. Total brain fart. I've only watched pieces of it with Leonardo DiCaprio. Is that it? Wolf of Wall Street. There you go. And thank you, Chris. And I technically I was a VSE broker. I was one of those guys, so I know how the game's played, and I also know how active criminal underworld is in the venture cap space. And of course, I've sort of chided and chuckled and guffawed about that Dan Friedberg guy. And thank you, Adam. Made sure that I remembered that guy's name. I'd always forget his name, but the guy was I think he was the mastermind behind SBF. I think SBF was just a pigeon, which is kind of a shame for SBF. But oh well. Suppose he had to learn the hard way. But anyway, just the point being that I know from personal experience, working in the Vancouver Stock Exchange, how criminal venture capital can be. So I ain't gonna sugarcoat it, but I will tell you, especially if you listen to this kind of guy, man, these criminal, like the mafiosos. I don't know how active. I'm sure they're probably pretty active here in North America. And I thankfully, thank you, Jojo, for keeping me on the straight and narrow. There you are, sweetie. I've never ever gone down that road, and I have no interest whatsoever. I mean, Brian's a weirdo, so my car is bought and paid for. My money's in the bank, earning interest. I have no debt, no credit card debt, no personal debt. I live a very frugal life. So as a result, I don't have a lot of vices. So I don't really I've never thankfully gone down that road, although I do remember a lot of people in my life I've seen over the years that go down those roads, drug addicts and stuff like that. Such a shame. Anyway, so the point being that if you want a really good education on how nasty, like the nasty underbelly of crypto, and why, unfortunately, crypto will be its own undoing. That's the worst part about this, is that, and this is where I'm going with all of this, You know who's going to kill crypto? Us stupid humans. They're the ones, this crypto idea is, I think it's actually got a lot of value and a lot of merit. But, the insane over the top regulation, it's coming, and it's coming because of crypto and what happens within this space. So don't kid yourself. That's half the reason why I have this funny little Twitter moniker here. Um, this gentleman, if you don't know who this gentleman is, you really have no business speculating in the crypto space. And he is basically an outright criminal. That's why I have his moniker on here. And this was a really interesting experience, this little NFT. I watched some people. Unfortunately, in this world, unless you actually have hard evidence, you don't necessarily want to call anybody a criminal or, accuse them of stealing or anything like that. But it's been really interesting to watch this story play itself out that's associated with this picture. It's a bit suspect, I'll tell you that much. And ironically enough, they might even say, well, the reason why we didn't do very well was because we didn't succumb to things like bribing exchanges for listings and going down pump and dump schemes and stuff like that. So fascinating education in venture capital. If nothing else, the past 10 years of my life have been a really, really good education in the human experience, the human condition. In fact, I even remember the first year that I was sort of involved in crypto in earnest. There was a gentleman who was he had a little trading community going, and he was actually a convicted criminal. We found out later on that he actually he was convicted of attempted murder. So, there's some interesting characters in this space. I don't know whether any of you remember him. I'll give you a hint. It was God, I can't. Oh yeah, now I remember his name. Yeah, I don't need to. It's just I hope if you do participate in the crypto space, I really hope you do appreciate that. Well, yes, there are some noble and good people maybe within like the Bitcoin story and stuff like that. There are a lot of very shady elements in this space. If anything, take it from a guy. I've literally watched this space 24/7 for the past decade. Everything from Archcoin and Mobies. Are any of you living? There's 30 people over there on YouTube. Are any of you living in Mobies yet? Can anybody tell me whether you took delivery of your Mobies? I'll know that you're a crypto OG if you even know what the hell I'm talking about. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's the same thing as this. If you don't know who this guy is, don't kid yourself. You're not a crypto expert. You're just getting involved. And unfortunately, what I see with venture cap is nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes. At the bottom of the market, we should probably be hearing things like suicide hotlines, which really sucks. I mean, I don't like to hear humans taking the beautiful gift of life that God's given you just because they made some bad financial decisions. Hate that. And of course, we're painted into this corner because of these powers that be that control our society. Very odd experience, this human experience. I'll tell you that much by crackers. Anyway, I hope I come across as sort of a voice of reason for all of you. Yeah, sometimes I get pretty pissed off at the way the political machine is set up, or the way the banksters have basically manipulated this human species into slavery. And the irony of it all is that the humans don't even realize it. That's it's almost poetic the way that they've pulled this off. That's the ultimate crime, when you can commit a crime right in front of somebody's face and they don't even call it a crime. They're like, so what? Stunning. Tell you, this human experience. So the good part about where we are now is we've gone through quite a nasty correction, especially in the shalt coins. That's been painful. Um, I'm pleased. I'm the type of guy that I absolutely hate losing money. So I don't even really mind so much that I had the money stolen from me. I had a bunch of these USDCs stolen from me. I mean, it's embarrassing, but hell, we might as well at least call a spade a spade. Don't bullshit to any of you. You can have this money stolen from you just like that if you click the wrong link or whatever, which I did. But even with this poor performance, I'm still able to bang out a respectable percentage rate of return. And the irony of it all is that they say if you can do better than 30% annualized return on a consistent basis, you've beaten like 95% of all investors ever. So ironically enough, over the past, I don't know, say 2 or 3 months, I've done like very little. They're just sort of sitting, just waiting for the correction to play itself out. I mean, I started with 10,000. I had basically 10,000 in cash sitting, waiting to go to quote unquote reload, but I lost a third of that. So now I've got 3,000 over here and another 3,000 in another stable coin, just sort of sitting there waiting. And actually, I'm pretty close to saying, you know what, let's go right back in, folks. So I suppose that's a good sign. I mean, we had to get through this damn seasonal trough. And if you haven't heard me say it before and you're relatively new to listening to me, well, man, just go back and watch all these broiler chickens over the past, since basically I was in Central America there. Wow, what a crazy past 6 months this has been. Holy moly. And now I think I'm moving to the States, believe it or not. Talk about contrarian. Everybody in the world, I mean, especially especially when and I showed this to Chris. I mean, I think this is going to become, the funny thing is, I think for the next 20 years, I think this is actually going to become my go-to image. I love this image so much. And I said, if we get a place, because I want to set up like the ultimate trading den. And I have this one place in mind, and man, I could actually pull the trigger today. Just have to get everything all set up, and it would just be, we're just gonna fucking trick this thing out. It's just gonna be like screens all the way to the ceiling, and maybe we'll even get virtual headsets, who knows. But anyway, so lots of fun to look forward to. I'm really excited about the future. But as I was showing Chris, I think we have to get like I think maybe even like a life-size poster just to remind us how absolutely insane these goddamn humans get through these Jupiter Saturn crosses in this. I mean, that has to be a reminder for the rest of all of your lives about just absolutely insane these stupid humans get. Where this is actually acceptable. I mean, I couldn't give a rat's ass if the guy's walking down the street and living his own life and doing whatever he's doing. This is a school teacher, for Pete's sake. I mean, come on. Like, what the hell? This is nuts. So, anyway, it does feel as though we're heading out the other side of this vortex. Thank God. But I'll tell you, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. That is the definition of we have lost complete faith and complete trust in all of the systems of the world and all of the institutions. And this is now your new normal. Oh my God. Insane. Anyway, hey, what the hell, man? I suppose we got 4 years of orange toupees ahead of us, eh? We haven't even really talked about the what's happened this past week. This is gonna be a pretty. It's they always say you can't write better fiction than reality. It is a dude. But they always say you can't write better fiction than reality. You literally can't. And now poor old grandpa, man, this was not a good day for him. Poor guy, especially at the end of the journey, right? I mean, it's not so bad if you're in your 20s or 30s, right? You can get knocked down, you could get back up and go on with life and all that. But oh boy, right at the very sort of twilight of your life, um, that was a poor showing. And actually, it was kind of funny how I did watch the second half of it, and it wasn't so bad. I didn't watch the first part where he totally, just froze up there. So actually, I didn't think he did too bad. But then when I watched the sort of summary following the event, it was just like, oh boy, and the whole world just totally took a crap on him. So the irony of it all, and what I wrote in the newsletter today, is I don't even think Mr. Trump. I mean, the irony. I'm saying the same thing twice. If Mr. Biden had just kept his shit together, he could have very easily pointed out Mr. Trump's lies, and then also pointed out the fact that Mr. Trump wouldn't answer what I consider to be pretty relevant questions about, the kids' future, what's going to happen to them. So the irony of it all is that Mr. Trump, he didn't even really have to say anything. Mr. Biden sunk his own ship. And I suppose that's sort of the state of affairs with these politicians nowadays. It's not so much who wins, it's more like who loses less. They're the winner. Crazy. But what I will say is I do think that this took a real punt. I got the impression, especially over the past, let's say, year or two, that the system itself had kind of recovered from sort of the shock of the sickness, and probably also too, to a certain degree, the shock of sort of Mr. Trump. And the system was kind of feeling like it was getting sort of back on its feet and stabilized. And I do believe Mr. Biden just threw the system a major curveball. So now the system's sitting there going, oh, what the hell do we do now? And I'm not saying I'm a fan of the system. You know me. How can you tell when a politician is lying to you? It doesn't matter if they're on the left or the right, they're all the same. I think the taxation system is basically forced financial slavery. We'll never pay back the debt. And when the borrowing of the government hits its peak, they just quote unquote monetize the debt, hyperinflate the economy, add a zero onto the end of all the prices, and keep playing the same debt game. They've done it. And if they can't do it, then they'll jump to a new currency and call that the hegemony, and then start the process all over again with that currency. And if you're a student of history, you can clearly see the path. Every 80 years, we have to go through these. And the irony of it all is that I actually think that the 1% actually they didn't do themselves any favors. They actually let the public know of what the plan was, this Klaus and this great reset. So everybody knew that it was going to happen. Everybody that sort of knew what am I trying to say here? If you were somewhat informed, you kind of saw this coming. And one might argue that's the whole reason why Bitcoin was created to begin with, because the powers that be, and I think it was George Bush and all his CIA cronies. You could call them CIA, you could call them NSA, you could call them FBI. It doesn't matter. They're all the same people. But I do believe, hell, George Bush Sr. was on the ground in Dallas, Texas, the day Kennedy was assassinated. Is that a little bit of a coincidence? And of course, he is a CIA boy. So, I might argue that they knew what was coming down the pike. They created this thing. A lot of people think that, cartography experts within the US government were the people who actually created all this crypto technology. And I might even argue that the way that they sort of convinced the public to buy into this was to create this thing called Bitcoin, where they could get enough inertia behind it, enough people participating. Now, hell, they've got Wall Street. One of Wall Street's biggest fans is basically Bitcoin's cheerleader. This thing, it's here to stay, folks. It ain't going anywhere. In fact, I might even argue probably the day that you should sell Bitcoin is the day that like Fink goes. Remember with Tesla? I mean, God, that was ridiculous what that bastard did. Like literally at the absolute perfect place on the price chart. If I was going to teach a course on technical analysis, I would say that is a sell signal. And literally that week was the week he publicly came out and said that BlackRock or whatever the hell his company was no longer was interested in the ESG story, and that was entirely up to local governments. And what happened to the stock? Down through the floor it goes. And that's an interesting commentary unto itself, because I do believe that the worst thing that could possibly happen to society, guys like Ralph Nader should be rolling in his grave. If you don't know who Ralph Nader is, Google him. The absolute worst thing that could possibly have happened to our Western civilization here, the standard of living of us humans, was for the Soviet Union to collapse. And literally the day following that collapse, the capitalists, they've gone ape shit all over us silly humans. And you can literally see the standard of living, all of the sort of benefits that were sort of pushed through over the past couple hundred years in sort of reaction to things like debtors' prisons and stuff like that. I mean, we thought our society was so advanced there following the Second World War and the standard of living and the baby boomers and all that. All of it, pensions, healthcare, affordability of food. And do yourself a favor and Google what happened in 1971. I mean, there's plenty of people that do lots of work on that stuff. But anyway, blah, 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 rhetoric, rhetoric, rhetoric. So, what the hell happened in this past week? I definitely think that the 1%, the people that are in charge of our society, they had everything sort of humming along there. And the only thing that could disrupt the apple cart was if the old man himself couldn't perform. And unfortunately, the old man himself could not perform. And actually, it's interesting, in our day trader room, we have one gentleman who's out of the great state of California, who's convinced that really the whole plan was to get Biden out of there and inject Newsom. And you can see how they're totally grooming Newsom for sort of the next sort of left-wing socialist sort of Democrat sort of poster boy for the upcoming elections. I think now what the consensus is fine, let Trump do his thing. And this will play out over the next weeks. We'll see. Maybe Biden will snap back and he'll have some great recovery. Who knows? As I just said, I started this whole rant off, right? You can't write better fiction than reality, that's for sure. So in a weird sort of way, I think the market was trying to firm up there a bit breadth-wise. You can even see it to a certain degree in crypto as well. And then the disaster happened, and you can see that the short-term breadth of the market is actually turned pretty sharply lower here. I would also argue too that the market has been kind of hoping. Keep in mind the market itself is a crack addict. So it's kind of like, have you ever seen that Robin Williams whenever he talks about the economy as a like a cocaine addict, I need a fix, just to get me through, right? Just a couple $100 trillion kind of thing. That's a great line. I think he was on Charlie Rose or something. I think that's what that guy's name was. That was a fantastic. I got it in the Twitter feed somewhere. Anyway, so I think the market was kind of hoping that it would get more crack in the form of lower short-term interest rates, which of course, boosts profit margins. And unfortunately, I think the data that came out this past week wasn't really non-inflationary. And what's concerning, I suppose, is our little time-tested inflation deflation indicators have actually started to turn back up. And so as a result, I'm, sitting here questioning, we did see the inflation deflation indicator roll over in the direction of deflation, which I think is one of the reasons why the stock market was feeling better. And I think a lot of that had to do with energy prices calming down. And I have said this in repeated broadcasts lately, so it's certainly not like this is, something brand new. But the silly crude oil market is just taken right off again. So, whatever reprieve we had out of inflationary pressures from the crude price, it just like literally launched itself back higher. That's the 4-hour chart. There's the daily chart. So it's been a pretty big jump there in energy prices recently. You could also argue too, to a certain degree, that this is kind of an anti-tech vote. Purchasing managers have the choice. Well, not really a choice. They get given a budget, and if energy prices are low, then that means they don't have to spend that much on fuel and electricity and heat for those stupid workers, right? If, however, energy prices are high, then a big portion of their budget has to go to paying those costs, and this is non-negotiable. So what often happens is when energy prices are low, things like technology does really well because purchasing managers have extra money in their pocket, and they might at like board meetings say, hey, why don't we go and buy this software, which will make all these stupid worker bastards of ours more productive. So they go and spend that extra money that they had out of their budget because they didn't have to spend so much on energy. They go buy the software, which makes the company more productive, which of course increase profit margins, makes shareholders happy. Capitalism 101. So the fact that energy prices have jumped up here quite a bit, if anything, that's probably a big reason why you're kind of seeing the stock market kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And I had sort of suggested there in the newsletter that we are seeing things like the risk market. Not only do we have those inflationary pressures coming back, but now we have sort of like political vacuum where all of the people, like the 1%, the bankster class, all that, they figured that Biden was just going to walk back into office. It was just like, in fact, I even talked to guys who are basically, they hate the Democrats, but they hate Trump even more. And a week or two ago, they were like, man, the devil you know is a lot better than the devil you don't know. And Trump did some serious damage to USA last time he was around, and he is a convicted felon now after all. So let's just keep Biden in there. And then Thursday happened, and now it'll be interesting to talk to them in the coming sessions. So, you still feeling pretty good about that guy? We'll see. Anyway, so I do think that a lot of the 1% that they just had their plan just humming along, and everything was just humming along. I think they've definitely had their plan upset. And as I said, you can see it in the breadth of the market. Clearly breadth has rolled over here. We are poised negatively. And, if we look at this S&P 500 chart, like I said, inflation, deflation, energy price popping back up. We had, core inflationary data come out of the States, core PCI and all that kind of fun stuff. Not really showing any abating of inflationary pressures. If anything, it's just sort of flatlining here at about 2.5, 2.75%. And now this is actually ticking back up. And actually, in my country, they had the audacity to actually cut interest rates, which I think was just pure politics. And if anything, a really good analogy of why you really want the central bank to completely be disassociated with the political machine, which it isn't in my country. Technically, in my country, the central bank is basically employees of the government. And the finance minister, who has absolutely no financial services experience whatsoever, why the hell she has that job, I have no idea. It's probably more like fake breast shop teachers kind of stupidity. The irony of it all is the guy that the guy that she replaced was actually right in the midst of a massive political scandal. So maybe that's half the reason why they put her in there, because uh-oh, only two. I should probably shut the fuck up. Chris and I have a running joke of how many sneezes I have and what does that mean. I'm going to mysteriously find that I got unalived this afternoon. Anyway, we don't need to rant about my country. You all know about what I think of this place. Anyway, point of the matter here is the inflationary pressure. It's back. And I think that nobody in the public should say, well, we didn't have any indication that the inflationary pressure come back. I think everything was perfectly fine. Come on. I've talked to you guys repeatedly that most of the inflation starts and ends with the energy price. If energy prices are falling, it's deflationary. If energy prices are rising, it's inflationary. It's that simple, folks. It really is. And the worst part about it is, I think that the woke part of our society, and in a weird sort of way, the banksters are kind of intertwined with all these people. It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. And this is what usually happens in countries that are massively in debt and technically bankrupt, is they just try and change the conversation as much as possible. Let's get a whole bunch of kids all upset about a war in the Middle East. I mean, the sad part about it for these kids that are protesting is, as long as I've been alive, there has been discontent in the Middle East. And I fancy myself a student of history. And as long as the human species has been alive, there has been discontent in the Middle East. It is the way that it is. If anything, if peace ever did break out there, that's the abnormal situation. But anyway, the point I would make, of course, is that for some reason, the powers that be in this world are really trying to dis-energize us. And what's so tragic about this is what's ending up happening. And I think our political leadership in our country is finally waking up to this reality. Interesting, another reason to follow my Twitter feed. My leader in my country, this is sort of his arch nemesis. This is the opposition leader. And it looks like the odds are that he's probably going to be the next leader of my country if and when we ever have this damn election. Who knows, though? He can't write better fiction than reality. Fucking idiot boy who's in power right now is probably going to figure out a way to stay in power. But anyway, he points out that what's ending up happening by Canada, which is like the second largest oil reserve in the world. And at least here we could, require that the oil that's actually used is processed efficiently and cleanly, and it does the least amount of damage. In our country now, do you realize? I mean, this is insanity. We are the second largest we have the second largest oil reserve in the world. It's just sitting there. And yet Canada imports oil from places like Venezuela, Iran. This is insanity. It's absolutely stunning that a country with the second largest reserves in the world has to import oil. What? I mean, that's how effed up. And the worst part about it is the oil comes from countries and they don't give a fuck how many people die to get a barrel of oil out of the ground. They don't care about some poor little seagull that's covered in oil and is going to die a horrible death. They don't care. In fact, watch this video and you'll see how absolutely insanely evil these humans are and the evil that they do. These humans are just disgusting. Anyway, so in a weird sort of way, by us shooting ourselves in the foot and not taking advantage of this resource that we have, we're actually making the planet worse off because somebody's going to fill the void. Canada has to import oil now. Oh my God. How about all the other countries that do normally have to import oil? Could they not have gotten sort of ethically oil? And then we could at least ensure that, that oil is produced, not harming the environment, blah, 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 blah. And it's anyway, so watch this video, really good analogy of how completely backwards what ends up happening. And this is a really good analogy about government, because government always tries to claim that they will fix the problem. But ironically enough, what ends up happening with this concept called government is they always make the problem worse. And here, I think, over time, we will see that by Canada shuttering in its oil, you've actually enabled places that never would be able to sell oil for them to be able to do even more damage to the environment that if they had sourced the oil from Canada. And, like something like Europe. I mean, we have so much natural gas here. If we wanted to, we could replace Russia as a supplier for natural gas for Europe. But because it's all shuttered in, they have to actually go and negotiate with Russia to actually get their oil or their natural gas. Now, how the hell does that make any sense in this world? Anyway, so watch this guy. That's basically what his brand here was all about. So it's a pretty screwy world we're in here. That's for damn sure. Interesting. I suppose we'll head on over and talk a little bit about crypto, and then we can get into the Q&A sort of part of this broadcast. If anything, I'm almost a little bit concerned with regard to crypto that we had a really, really nice oversold condition here in our universe. Came in, nope, there. So what's that? June 12th. So June 12th, we actually had this crypto market kind of nice and washed out. And actually, I was feeling pretty optimistic that we'd put in some sort of bottom. Oh, where the hell is the damn thing? 14th, 13th, 12th. Just stay there. I don't know how to move my mouse down without this damn thing moving. Oh, jeez. Oh, now what are you doing? Oh, God damn, son of bitches. I can't do it. Maybe if I go up. 12. All right, there we go. Yeah. So you can see we got stupidly oversold here on the short term, and we got stupidly oversold here on the medium term. Whenever you see that situation, it means we're at some sort of significant pivot for the market. And I think that's basically what happened. You can see that the whole broader crypto market started to lift out of that event. And actually, there were some cryptos that actually doubled. Yeah, hell, there was one that was on my list that actually tripled. I couldn't believe it. I'll show you it here. I follow this funny little matrix that I put together. It probably looks like gobbledygook on YouTube, but it's a pretty handy way to sort of keep track of everything that's in the little old lady portfolio. Over here, there we are. And I mean, I've told all of you, do yourself a favor. Your TRICTO, he has a list of fundamental names that he likes. And I just simply said, okay, let's just be patient and disciplined. And as soon as these things start putting in W's, get ready to rock and roll, folks. And if you're like little old ladies, if we're down into buying windows, man, this is absolutely perfect. I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous. And the irony of it all is that people would just throw this out. You often see me do this, right? I can't tell you how to read this, but I can tell you, 9 times out of 10, when somebody in the public reads that, they say opportunity is nowhere, especially when you see a chart that looks like that. I hate to say it, when I see a chart like this, I see opportunity is now here. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And the thing that you're missing here, I mean, you've got everything. You've got trade location. I suppose I think I did this on the daily brief videos and stuff like that. So you can always come on the site and see them. But we have indicator confirmation, lots of bullish divs down here. And now we're just waiting for a W to come in on this thing. And holy crap, that's a screaming buy. Interesting to see. I don't know whether I can really jump on the bullish bandwagon with this thing if it W's here. I still think this thing's got to work its way a bit lower. So that's one of Sjord's names that I couldn't step in, but a lot of these names, they are absolutely, that's basically everything we teach. There's no real sign of a bottom here on this guy, but little old ladies, you can definitely start paying attention. And then, like I said, some of these names, like this crazy ass hello. And actually, somebody was even telling me yesterday that they heard that they had started to talk about how they filmed their second season of this show. So get ready, folks. And I suppose this is the summertime. So, if this thing starts airing, crypto starts to catch a bit of a bid, we start bottoming. And then all of a sudden they come out with their TV show. I mean, this is WD GAN 101. This is not rocket science, folks. I mean, this is the reason why I actually like playing in the crypto space, is that it's so absolutely insanely volatile. I mean, that's the hallmark of venture capital. So you don't have to be a Dan Friedberg, but just understand that those kind of sharks play in this space, right? These kind of jerks, good old cabbage coin guy, these people, they're all over this space, and that doesn't mean you have to be like them. But just understand that the venture cap space does have a lot of these kind of characters, and really that's I hate to say it, but that's like reason number one why I built this school. Like, let's see if you guys can actually finish this. I've said this line so many times. I'm going to be literally speaking to you from the other fucking side. Let's see if you guys have heard the message. Let's see if anybody can remember this. Brian, you have the potential to do what? Let's see if anybody can actually recite JoJo's words from the other fucking side. Brian, you have the potential to do what? Close. Well, somebody posted something here in the Hangout. Let's see what they. Yeah, that's the potential. Close. Oh, Constantine. Nice. Like, I can't stress enough. And actually, I see the number of viewers just went down. Oh boy, here he goes off on some crazy ass Beamish rant. But literally, this is why I'm doing all of this. She said, Brian and great Constantine, we got JoJo, you got through to one person over there. Way to go. I hope you're happy. But some of you said change people's lives, make a difference in this world, positive difference in this world. There you go, DMAC. Right. All right. Good to see at least a few people. Norway, of course, I would expect you to know this. So I'm here to try and balance the scales. I'm the guy who's going to be like, why are you involved in this space? What are you doing as shrewd players coming in and buying up here? What are you, on drugs? Yeah, it's called hopium. And the irony of it all is now that nobody's even the slightest bit interested, now that Beavish guy is getting all excited. And the irony of it all is that this is the universe 101. I mean, I don't know whether it's going to go there, but I can tell you the statistical odds of that 50% level getting traded to are very high. They're higher than you going to Vegas and playing any game. And the statistical odds of you winning in Vegas are staggeringly low. They're way higher than you going and buying lottery tickets. I mean, if anybody actually saw what the statistical odds of you winning the lottery are, this is actually, kind of like 60, 70% kind of odds. And right, we're here to make money from trading. We want to buy low and we want to sell high. That's the name of this game. So isn't that ironic, right? I can only get 40 viewers, few hundred viewers in total on these videos. And yet I'm here. My job here is to try and help all of you. And I tell you, we've helped a lot of people. It has worked. I don't see that great Del Moody guy around today. Suppose he's off running his advisory service now. Hell, he just watched all these free videos and taught himself how to trade. But the number one thing you got to do is, for God's sakes, I mean, here's another opportunity. Let's see if we can get more than 3 or 4 responses. Your number one job in this business is, how am I going to say this? I don't want to give you the answer because I want you to answer it, especially if you're watching this video after the fact. Your number one job is don't what? What are you not supposed to do in this goddamn game? That's what your number one job is, Adam. You're trying to front run me. That's not what my question was. You can't do that. That's cheating, Adam. You're gonna go. I'm gonna send you off to the penalty box. All right. If you don't know what the answer to this is, don't what? Then either get your fucking ass on TRI and subscribe, you goddamn sons of bitches. Wait a minute. We can do it. How does this work? Isn't he supposed to kiss my ass to get him to get the sale? No, you bastards, get in here now. But I'm trying to make this positive difference in this world. That's why I'm doing this. Well, I mean, Chris, what do you think? Is this a noble effort on my part? No answer. Well, he's gone.
Noble in effort as any, I believe.
All right. I'm not quite sure whether that was a yes or no. Anyway, the answer is don't. In fact, should we maybe we should just, we won't answer it. And please put in the comments to this video, hit the like button. I mean, let's see, we got 40 people watching the video. How many likes do we have? We got 19. So half of you are sitting there going, I don't know whether I like this guy or not. He's kind of a goofball. Anyway, regardless, I would highly encourage you to take a real good look at this. And a lot of these names here. And the interesting thing is, and this is the interesting thing about capitalism, is that if you actually go and talk to the public right now, their impression of capitalism now keep in mind, it'll change. But right now, with all the shit coins down basically at the bottom ends of the range, they're all getting destroyed. Just go watch this. This is, and sadly, this is going to resonate with a lot of people, and especially people who bought poop coins from, like, especially, guys like that said, oh, this time it's different. What do you think, folks? Give me some feedback over there on YouTube. Was this time any different than any other market? Is this just it? Just give me a yes or no. Was this time any different? Yeah. Well, thank you, Mr. Unknown. Appreciate it. I hope the good Lord has the same impression of me when I get over on the other side. And, good Lord willing, please, Jojo, help me. How the hell do I support Liam through all this and keep a stable head? Oh, goodness. This is so business as usual. Is embarrassing. But it's a little bothersome here if we look at something like the Bitcoin price chart. Keep in mind, this is a weekly price chart. If this thing goes and M's out here, it doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin's going to zero, but it's going to take a lot of work. I can't really draw this downtrend line until we actually get that close below that level. And then when it does it actually close below that level, then it's going to become a trend line like this. And notice when this trend line confirmed and we broke through this high right here on this date, look how far the market went. Way, way beyond that trend line. So what's bothersome about this is we can't, I mean, especially if this trend line actually confirms, we can't turn bullish until number one, we recapture the trend line, and then we actually put structure in on the other side of that trend line. So we're doing a lot of sort of, don't be surprised if we have to take the rest of 2024 and just go sideways here. And unfortunately, you might have, a week or two period where Bitcoin kind of loses 5-10 G's in a heartbeat. That's not a bullish picture, folks. So I will say that this is a very, very important level here. If this is still a bull, and if we are going to, all right, just consolidate post halvening, then get ready for our next leg up to 100 bazillion gazillion dollars. These lows, you cannot have this market start closing below this low here, because the institutional people are all going to start looking at this and go, there's no way in hell I'm touching that. I got to see W's here for me to get invested. And it might be something like we just do this, right? Where like 6 months later, you're still waiting for this thing to break out. And then finally, W's start coming in way over here. So at the very best, we got to start seeing this type of price action. And we're like right now flirting with actually confirming an M, not a W, an M. So that's not an exciting picture. In fact, somebody just said, what if we close above, we smile at the market? And my answer was, right, if you're a bull, you can't be bullish until we actually start seeing some W's, please. So I don't know how long this is going to take to play out. If anything, what bothers me in this game, of course, I often tell people to do this, and it's kind of funny when you guys even turn it back on me. I don't even think it's really in our best interest to predict the future, what's going to happen, because you can never predict the future. We say, right? You can't write better fiction than reality. Whatever actually happens, whatever the reasons are, stuff happens, it's going to be way better than anything we could possibly write. So, all I will say is that I played this game long enough that if this M actually does confirm, statistically speaking, the odds are not in favor of the bulls. That's probably the absolute best, most straightforward answer I can give you, is the statistical odds are not in favor of the bulls. In fact, I put a tweet out about this, about the Ethereum there about a month or two ago. Actually, when was this? This was, it looks like it was the beginning of June, somewhere in that area, a week or so into June. So that's about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I just simply said, this is pretty textbook stuff. You can all see this M coming in reload zones. And I just said, same sort of thing I would say about Bitcoin. I mean, there's no guarantees in any of this shit. But let's just say the odds are rather tilted in the bear's favor, right? 60, 70% statistical odds. We got to work our way down into 200 period moving averages, fog bombs, original market structure lows, blah, blah, blah. And if anything, this is a beautiful analogy that sometimes trading can be the most boring job in the world. So here we put the trade on like over here, June's, what is that, 5th, 6th. And literally, what is this? This is like almost a month later, and there's just nothing to do. Do you have the patience and discipline to just sit there and do absolutely nothing for a month? that if anything is a really good analogy of a trader's life. Most people who come into this business, they don't understand that this is actually very typical of an investor. And in fact, I've tried to encourage the team to get involved in sort of, money management side, and, thinking about maybe starting a fund, that kind of idea. And unfortunately, the team is, just like everybody else in crypto, is kind of sanguine that prices are low. And I was like, well, if you want to be a money manager over time, what you have to understand is you really only can count your wins and losses after you've taken profits. When you're invested, so like this Ren's a good example. We're invested from down here, taking some profits on the way up, not a bad idea. Market comes back down into reload zones, and maybe we'll just go reload. But right now, we're just sitting on the free trade that was established when we sold halves on doubles and triples and quadruples and all that kind of fun stuff. And right now, with the asset that you own, you're just sitting there just twiddling your thumbs. There's nothing to do. And I wouldn't do anything. Don't tinker with your portfolios. Obviously, I fancy myself a day trader, well, obviously, this conversation is not relevant for you. And you can see one by one, these things will all W out and start to lift. And look how this guy, this route, look how he's starting to lift. Now, you tell me, is this coming in a trade location that Brian tries to teach you all to kind of, I don't know, at the very least, I mean, maybe respect is a stiff word, but at least acknowledge that, well, this is the bottom end of the range. You've heard that Beamish guy talk about how markets love to come in and bottom off of the line in the sand. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy here, he's actually like carving out some sort of, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually turns into some sort of W. Right? Something like that, and away you go. I could very easily see that. I often see in hindsight that markets will end up bottoming, and I look back over time and I see that the goddamn thing's bottom right off that damn 78.6. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that in my career. There's ridiculous amounts. But, if you're Mr. Fancy Pants, all right, that Beamish guy, he says, we should try and buy against bottom ends range. So I should be perking up and paying attention now. And then, oh, wow, gee whiz, look at what letter of the alphabet is this? Holy crap, that looks like a goddamn W. Isn't that what that Beamish guy says that we should be hunting for? I mean, I suppose the icing on the cake is, do we have any bullish divergence that's developed down here? I've got these all set up on the matrix, so I can't show you the indicators, but my hunch is probably, yeah. But anyway, the point being that, ironically enough, the public is not interested in this stuff at all right now. And I would actually say now's the time when you actually should be getting very, very interested. You know what's super cool about our website now? Like I said, I'm very proud of the team. They stuck with it, kept working. It looks like the dashboard's back up in line and kicking butt. What I noticed is like we have a crypto top 30 index that we actually follow. Interesting how it has 36 markets. I'm not quite sure how that works. Is that right? 30, is that say 6? Jeez. Anyway. But the point being, and I think there's like some redundancy, like we have multiple ETF proxies in here. That's an ETF proxy, that's an ETF proxy, that's an ETF proxy. So there's the problem. Anyway, I suppose we'll figure out how to get that, but this should be 30. But the point here is, look how many names now are actually spitting out either attractive or actually get in there and start hunting longs. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And keep in mind that, that one, and that one are basically all the same. So to all intents and purposes, the better part of half, if not more than half, there you got ETH. So all three of these we should actually take out of the system. Mind you, that one's a weird price. I'm not sure what the hell that is. But anyway, point being that a hell of a lot of it, like the actual algorithm is working. So that's good. And like I said, the public is not really that interested. So what a surprise, almost half of our universe is actually flashing, these are actually looking like attractive investment ideas. So I do find that really cool. And then, this is also another thing that I can't wait to show you, because what I've done here, and I've been wanting to do this forever, but it's great to see that we're finally there, is in your email, you should get a daily report if you subscribe to the dashboard. I've created, of course, I love this because now basically these are the setups, the L Tangonator and the bot setup that we teach in the level 1 program. So these are actually screeners that I built that, basically trade location, indicator confirmation, price structure, go. So we've got those in there. We've got a couple old timer TRIers. Of course, now hopefully Mr. Da Vinci's learned that this time wasn't different. It was actually very similar to all the other times. And these are like free signals that we have on the site. I won't take credit for Davo's model, but yeah, we have it in there. And actually, I even asked Fjord whether I could get stock symbols on this as opposed to just crypto. But anyway, got all the breadth signals. And as I had sort of said earlier, we're actually getting a lot of bearish messages here from the S&P 500. Crypto just rolled over bearish. The Dow is leaning bearish. We're not oversold, which is good, right? You can see, slow is between 20 and 80, which implies the market's neutral. So we're not heavily oversold. Last date that the indicator crossed, so we get a date of that. So this is just the broader market breadth measures. And we have some really interesting divergences happening here. Notice that the commodities are actually turning back up, i.e., remember our conversation there earlier about inflation. And that's not good for the bond market. And that's not good for our inflation deflation gauge. And of course, Canada is a commodity proxy. And the stupid doofus that's in charge of our country, you can see his whole agenda about trying to put the commodity industry out of business in Canada. I think it's actually backfired, and it's actually created an incredible investment opportunity, I think, in China to invest in the areas of the country that this idiot has tried to destroy. So I actually did an interview just the other day, last week, with the Wall Street silver guy, Ivan, and it's actually a two-parter. Um, if you do subscribe to my sort of market outlook, I actually think that inflation, we just went through actually the friendly part of the inflation bump up here. Great reset. You're going to eat bugs and like it, all that bullshit. And unfortunately, the latter part of this decade is an even bigger inflationary push. Then, like I said, somebody on social media goes, "Don't predict the future. Don't predict it." I'm sorry, but I think this is as plain as day. And actually, I wanted to publicly mention it's not a bad opportunity. I think the person's name is Lynn Alden. I don't know this person, but I did to try and answer this other gentleman's sort of don't tell us that inflation is bad and it's going to get worse. I actually I think the best thing, and I think I'll even do this now, is I'm going to defer to Lynn here. Very good piece on inflation, on the historical precedents, and great resets and all that crap. And unfortunately, I think if you're going to compare cycles, unfortunately, I think that we're in sort of the 1940s cycle, which sadly means that we probably have another round of nasty inflation in front of us. I thought there was a really nice chart that Lynn had on here, which points out what our expectations should be. I can't really find it on the fly, typical. But bottom line here is I think there's a lot of similarities between the 1940s. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So unfortunately, I think that we went through sort of the 42, 43 push and into the latter part of the decade. There's going to be another massive push higher here. And as I said, I did and there's a lot of comparisons between sort of the 1980 70s push and the 1980s push. I don't think that we actually look like this right now, but nonetheless, I think you can actually make a pretty good argument that the metals market, and it's not necessarily like I'm a bull, it's more like the metals prices have been artificially kept down, while they were going about bailing out the broader banking sector. So actually, you know what I'm going to do while I've got it off the top of my head is I just want to, where was that? Yeah, this one here. So this is what I'm worried about. Is that we've got another big inflationary push here near the end of the decade. And this person here says, start trying to predict the future. I was going to say, maybe read this and it might help you understand why I feel as I do. So thank you very much, Lynn Alden, for that piece. It's a very good piece. All of you, I think you could all benefit by reading that. I thought it was well done. You guys have seen me talk about this repeatedly, so I don't think I need to rehash that. Anyway, I guess the point just being that I actually really like the long metals play, but it's, as I had said, and actually, you know what? Speaking of Wall Street silver, I actually went through these charts, and we're going to do a two-part video. So the first part, I think they said that they were going to try and produce it by the end of the week. But I think what's happening in the commodity sector is that they're just literally going through and repricing and just sort of reestablishing what value is with these commodities one by one by one. So about a month or so ago, and you can look back, they did it to the wheat market, blamed it, of course, on the Ukraine war, which I think is a load of horse hockey, but made for a darn good excuse. They did it in the lumber market, right? And the whole sickness, and everybody's locked in their cages. So that's the reason why they launched lumber prices. This most recent go round, they did it in the cocoa market, where really, this is 1980 and this is in real dollars. And of course, what have they done to the money supply? They've absolutely exploded it. So just to get back to sort of the average price of this asset over the past like 40 years, I'm not even asking for a new bull market. I'm just saying bring the market back to an average, right? And you can see the bearish market structure here. This should be major resistance. And you can see how they just cranking this thing up here. And my argument right now is not so much, I don't want to buy cocoa now because it's already gone. And look at that huge move in cocoa prices, right? From 2000 all the way up to 10, 11,000. Like it's a five-fold increase. So it's not really like I'm a cocoa bull. What it is the fraud of what they've done in the money supply is finally correcting itself. And we're, like this whole concept of inflation here. It's the war in Ukraine. It's the supply chain economics. It's the sickness. That all of that is a lie. The reason why we have the inflation is this absolutely insane money printing. It's as simple as that. So it's not so much that I'm like, oh, you know what, silver is the next best thing since sliced bread. I want to fall in love with silver. It's that hopefully you can see when it comes to something like silver, and where was I? That was over here, right? Here's the silver, right? I just showed you this is the cocoa. But you can see in silver, they haven't done this yet. So that's half the reason why I'm interested in silver. But you can see, ooh, sure looks to me like they're getting ready to ramp this thing. And I'm not looking for a new bull market, new all-time highs. All I'm looking for is, can you just bring the price back to whatever the mean is here? And to me, that's probably, even just coming back to these highs, you can see that's easily 40, $50 because look at what the money supply has done since that point in time. So if we just come back to this level here on the price charts, this money supply, it's gone up, it's doubled. So this price has to be the better part of $100 just to get back to this level. What happens if we really want to go to the 50% level? What happens if we want to test this high? Heaven forbid. What happens if we actually want to just test these old fear cycle peaks? So that's, and I think that there is an incredible opportunity within this whole sector of this country. Keep in mind, Canada is like technically in the world's eyes a commodity country. And the whole commodity business, this politician over that's been in charge of our country for the past 9 years has done nothing but try and put the commodities out of business. And this whole woke nonsense, a message about how, well, we're not going to use oil anymore. We're all going to be driving electric cars. And I mean, goodness, I've repeatedly showed how the logistics of electric vehicles, it just doesn't work. It's impossible. Like one good example is a trucking company that wanted to set up a charging station for their trucks on the roads. It was going to require more electrical generation than like a city of like 100,000 people. It's idiocy that how the public was conned into this whole we're all going to be driving electric cars nonsense. So anyway, so that's what I think's going on here. I think there's an incredible opportunity within the space. It's not so much that I'm going to be like, eating silver. It's more like really all they just got to do is just bring the price of silver back to sort of normal. Anyway. So I think you all got sort of my impressions of Bitcoin here. Well, actually, you know what? Altcoins, right? And you can see, I mean, this is why I like doing these matrices. You can literally see the W's all starting to form here. And, don't kid yourself. The worst part about this is when these things go and they don't look back. And look at this one. I didn't pick up any of this because I've been too lazy. And look at that bloody rally. If you had been paying attention through here and little old lady nanny nibbling, whatever you want to call it, beamish rhetoric, I don't really care. If you actually had the balls to step in when this thing was cratering here over the past month or so, you easily got a double. Like I said, that's a triple. It just out of nowhere, boom. So my hunch is that we get into July and you're going to start to see this all start to mysteriously happen out of nowhere. I mean, am I going to suggest that this is a good buy to come in here and chase that there? No, of course not. Right. What I'm going to suggest, and you all know that message, right? We're going to draw our reload zones. We're going to wait patiently for price to come back down into trade location. And once it comes back down into location, we're going to be looking for crazy notions like bullish momentum divergences, where we look down at our indicators and we see the indicators are not making new lows, but price was. It's kind of sloppy, but you get the idea. Let's move that up a little bit, maybe something like that, so you can at least see it, right? And this is our momentum indicator, RSI, Williams percentage R, CCI, stochastics. Doesn't really matter. They all do the same job. And then, right, following that, knowing that, okay, we got a bottom, we want to start seeing those W's. So, the point being that now is when you were supposed to be paying attention. And it doesn't surprise me that this one's popped. I don't know what the reason is. But you're probably going to see this one by one by one. They all start to come back to life. Then we'll go through a nice little summer silly season where, a month or two from now, you're going to hear like crypto never did have a bear market. and everybody's getting rich on crypto again. And of course, that's our sign that maybe we just got to leave this stuff alone. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So half an hour to go. Can you guys give me some feedback on YouTube? Are you enjoying the rantage here today? Hopefully, I gave you a few ideas to chew on. Where are you guys? Are you over here? I can never remember. I pulled up that Lynn Alden's website. And you guys are over here. Yeah, there you go. Oh boy, somebody's asking a question and they're all pissed off. Look at this. Funny that you never reply on anything I'm asking or anything on your post or videos, but feel the need to reply to this. LOL. All right, well, you've got my undivided attention. Human biomass? What the hell's the damn question? Hopefully all of you are go, you know what? At least Brian's got a sense of humor. I mean, I try not to take myself too seriously. So relax, dude. Now, what the hell's your damn question? What's his question? How to sub for that email? Well, it's really simple. RationalInvestor.com. It's a really pretty website that they put together. You can come and join the community, but I will say that email is absolute solid gold. And I don't think I really even want people to get it for free. So I think that to actually get that email, and Chris, maybe it might be a good idea just to note the time that we talked about this. And maybe you could just put in your notes Brian's feelings on the newsletter so that I can play this back to the team. But I think that email that I showed you should just be part of the dashboard subscription package. Because this thing, especially when we have the signals going, I mean, do yourself a favor and pull up like a chart like tech. Or I'm not quite sure what these cryptos look like right now. But I do know that tech chart, oh my God, that just looks absolutely perfect. So I don't really want to be giving this stuff away for free. I mean, look at that. Oh, beautiful bottom. Nice two bottom W's there in the DI indicator. So I don't really want to be giving this away for free. This is part of the subscription. I think the rates that we're charging, I think, are extremely reasonable given sort of the hyperinflation of this world. I will say, as a free trial member, you can come on the site and just watch. I think it's like a month or something we give you for free. So you could always come and watch the daily briefs and, I suppose mine us over that time period. I would probably, I think, like, ethically, you're just going to have to make your decision. There are ways that you could like just continually create new emails once a month and just keep taking advantage of us. But I don't think that that's good karma. But, that's entirely up to you and the type of person that you are. But I think the rates that we charge, like we want to charge, I guess, about $1,000 a year, which would be like less than $100 a month for subscription to that email, which I think is easily worth its weight in gold. And really what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to be talking about those emails every single day. So we get to the point where, November rolls around. I would really like to have people say, number one, I see the value in these trade ideas. Just since we've had the engine back up and running, we've had a few very interesting signals come in. I've been talking about it on the daily brief, and we'll just keep watching them as they play out. And really, we're going to be taking options trades off of all of these signals now. In essence, this is exactly the model that we teach you in the level 1 class. Trade location, indicator confirmation, lots of W's, nice big fat W in price. And you can see how this thing's just climbing its way higher here. So it's more than 50% of the way to the price objective. And this is a really good example of what I will be doing over the next 6 months to encourage you to subscribe to the TRI dashboard to get these signals in your email. So, and you can see, I mean, these are just some of the signals. I mean, this is everything that we teach. It's absolutely beautiful to see. Nice reload zones. Beautiful. Look at these indicators. Oh my goodness. That's absolutely everything that we teach. And I could go on and on just talking about each and every one of these charts. They're so pretty. And also too, what I thought was fascinating, and I can't wait to talk about this in the videos and weeks and months ahead, is the message of the market. If you understand how the economy works, sort of like stockcharts.com and sector rotation, then what you should be looking for right now is for signs that we're near the end of the Fed interest rate. Whoops, what did I do here? The end of the Fed's interest rate raising cycle. And there is a very specific part of the market that actually outperforms when that actually happens. I'd be curious. Let's see how smart all of you in the public are. What part of the market should be outperforming literally the day the Fed is done raising interest rates and actually even thinks about starting to cut rates? Does anybody know? If you took our education program, you should know that. You should be able to pull up a tool at the very least and just make a cross-reference and go, oh yeah, okay, turns out that when the market is actually broken and the Fed actually starts cutting rates, financials actually start outperforming. And so the question here is, do we have any anecdotal evidence in the marketplace as we speak right now that the financials are starting to outperform? And obviously, if I ask a question like that, the answer is probably really simple. Thank you, the Matador. But if we look at the screener signals and we look at who is outperforming, fascinating. Look at what we have here. And this is where you get value from the information, because it's literally telling you the state of the market. So this is just simply a daily bullish momentum push on volume. Price crosses the 13 EMA on rising bullish volume with price momentum confirmed through RSI being above its moving average and above the 50 line. Fifth Third Bank Corp, Comerica Incorporated, insurance company, Key Corp, bank company, bank stock, Morgan Stanley, brokerage, Capital One Financial. Are you guys seeing any kind of theme here? Anyone? Do you see it? Like a Bank of America, Discover Financial Services, Fidelity Realty Investment. Oh, realty. Does real estate do okay this part of the cycle? I don't know. You tell me what's right beside financials. So does it not make sense that if we are heading into this part of the cycle, and oh, by the way, the utilities dramatically outperformed there for the first 2-week study of the previous cycle. So, but does it not make sense that it sounds to me like the market's placing some bets here? These are assets that are moving up in price, right? They're moving up. They crossed the 13 EMA. Anybody that's followed me especially if you follow Bitcoin. Half of the reason why I think that we're in a bear right now for Bitcoin, maybe it'll break, who knows? But half of the reason why I think this is bearish right now is this is a daily chart of Bitcoin. Look how it's acted against its 13 EMA on a daily price chart. So you can see acted as support, acted as support, acted as support. Oh, acted as resistance, acted as resistance. Here we are. Looks like we're going to come up. Are we going to break out here? Who knows? But this 13 EMA probably going to act as resistance. Then we look at Ethereum. How's that 13 EMA doing? Acted as support, acted as resistance, acted as resistance, acted as resistance, acted as resistance. If we can close back above it, well, then maybe it'll turn into support going forward. So the point being that if these stocks are breaking out through the 13 EMA, that means they've got some oomph behind them. And what a surprise, they're all basically in the same bloody business. And what is a big stock? We'll do a nice trivia piece for you guys. What is a really big blue chip stock that Warren Buffett is recently buying? Hint, hint, hint. It just so happens to be in the financial services business. Does anybody know? Has anybody been paying attention? And it's interesting because our other screen, of course, had us buying Occidental Pete, and Buffett came out publicly and announced that he was loading up on Occidental Petroleum. So it's sort of like, wow, you can't write better fiction than reality. All right. Crypto M says a small W forming on the 1 day time frame for Bitcoin. Yeah, it's trying to. I still think Bitcoin's kind of, thank you, Adam. You're the only one who'll placate me there. Appreciate it. And I guess this audience, they don't give a fuck about classic finance. Talk about crypto, damn it. I would say one thing about crypto, be careful here, is this is the holiday weekend. Tomorrow is a very weird day, right? Tomorrow is a national holiday for a lot of the sort of Rothschilds controlled part of the world, but it's not a holiday down in the States. And then Thursday, it's the exact opposite. Now, my question for you, and this isn't a bad sort of theme to finish off on with the public talk, and then I'll go to that question. But why would Ethereum be rallying right now? And that, by default, crypto, probably just generally across the board, is going to be catching a bit. Yeah, come on, silly screen. And you're right, there it is. In fact, actually, what's this? And you can see I've already highlighted. What is this 2-bar pattern here? So if you're a fancy smancy technician, then actually that's a signal that just fired on a move through, what is that, 61,114. Yeah, MM says, and we'll see tomorrow if USDT is delisted in UE. Is that European Union? Yeah. So we have tomorrow. So as you said, a big event around that FINRA, was it called? I think that's what it's called. Is that the name of it, Chris? No. That's it. You want to be registered with them. What's the name of the European thing that's going through? MICA or something like that? MICA? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to actually confirm this as a double bottom. And this is interesting that we had that conversation about the financials and that screen with the 13 EMA. Can you see how there should be a battle royale at that 13 EMA level there? Can you see that? So you're right. Whoever mentioned that on YouTube, that is potentially a W coming in. I don't like these kind of W's because I would prefer the entire W to be completely on the other side of this trend line. So for me to actually get bullish, and I know I sound like a stick in the mud, what I actually think has to happen here is we got to come up against that 13 EMA, against that high. And if this is a breakout, fine, great, break it out, do it. Right. And we could even start doing things like chaos theory off of this to give us upside objectives. What do you think the odds are 2.618 off of this range is going to be nothing more than a test of that moving average there. What do you think? Do 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 do. Boom. Oh, look at that. It's way up there. So that means that if we do break out here, and it's a big if, I'm not saying it's happening. I have to see it close above this 13 EMA to know that indeed we have actually broken through there. Interesting that the next stop, oh, what a coincidence. Does anybody on the interneting ever talk about 61.8 fibs and things like Mountain Man's? Is that a dead giveaway? Probably. Anyway, let's put on Mountain Man. Oh, what a surprise. Can you see the confluence here? So now we've got the 30 SMA, and really what I would call this is a moving average sandwich. So we got 30 SMA, we got Mountain Man, we have the original market structure top, right? This is the big happy face, smiley face shorting level. Do you think if this thing did counter trend rally, do you think anybody would want to get a short on at that level? I think so. Could they potentially do it through this really wonky, screwy holiday, quasi-holiday week through this coming week where the Americans will be gone here, Canadians, a lot of Europeans will be gone. The big unknown about the European Union. Are there a lot of people right now panic exiting their USDT over there on European exchanges and just panic buying anything they can a la Bitcoin just to get the hell out of USDT in case it gets delisted? I'd say that's probably a pretty good probability. In fact, in our newsletter, we probably should have made reference to that, Chris. It completely slipped my mind. Anyway, it is what it is. So it makes sense. And oh, by the way, is this an area on the price chart that Beamish guy might talk about people actually reloading in? And is that not cliche? Right down into reload zones. For a while there, I was going to actually take these fibs right off of the thing and just show you levels, but what the hell? I guess I'll put the fibs back on there. So 61.8 to 78.6 with a panic dump. Didn't quite hit Julian's 88.6. So that might have been a bit aggressive. But nonetheless, if that W does come in there, it's not shocking that it did come in exactly in that level. It's almost cliche, really. But I don't know whether I would actually consider this thing out of the woods just yet. I mean, first and foremost, if we do rally, you can see there is a bunch of confluence up at this area that I would think that this needs to be reckoned with. Having said that, can you play this thing on margin leverage where you're going long there at 62 and you're looking to take some money off the table at 66, a $4,000 move in the price of the asset? It's not unrealistic. I think it's perfectly doable. Probably where you want to be hunting is off of these Bitcoin futures. So I won't get into that today because we're running out of time. But my hunch here is that this is actually the main attraction. Having said that, thinking about what's going on with that European Union tomorrow. So thank you very much. Who was it that mentioned that? Spot on for you there, MM. That was good thinking. I wouldn't be surprised if if there's a lot of money moving out of Tether or the Tether assets themselves are leaving. And ironically enough, the easiest way to leave might just be to buy Bitcoin with your tethers and then just move them on chain to wherever it is you want to keep them. So that's not a bad observation. That's probably pretty prudent. I would also say the same thing about Ethereum too. And in fact, probably the better way to look at this, and I had sort of said in the video here this morning that I was probably going to sort of leave my market commentary to what they're doing with Ethereum, because of course they've got the big old ETF stuff coming up here. So I do think that you could argue to a certain degree this is a bull ABCD. If it's just a healthy, normal, boring one, then that sets up things like bot trades. Doesn't look like this is going to be very cooperative, though. I kind of like to see like a nice base formed if I'm going to do a trade off of these, A, B, C, Ds. I want to see 3 higher lows, but you can see they're just not cooperating at all. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ethereum story here runs into a brick wall right at this trend line. So it'll be interesting to see whether that can actually punch any higher. But your comments about that Mica and the USDT, actually, I think I'm going to retract what I said earlier that this was primarily an Ethereum driven market right now. I actually think that, especially heading into tomorrow, I think that actually that Mica stuff and the USDT issue is probably your price driver here, especially in the short term. So having said that, is this enough for me to justify, all right, we're now in a new bull market? No, not even close. We're going to have to resolve this moving average sandwich. I want to see 3 higher lows. I might, over the next weeks, start doing things like drawing bullish bot setups. I mean, technically, you could argue that this is an atom, and this is an Eve. It's not the prettiest one, but it is technically legit. What I'd actually like to see is, could this turn into like an Adam and maybe a Steve? And can I get that W over here to come in completely on the other side of the trend line? If I could get that, then I'd feel a lot more optimistic. I actually think what's going to happen here, especially with that news that you guys are talking about there out of EU tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually just a straight line stab straight up there. That really wouldn't surprise me. So, be forewarned. We are in reload zone, so not shocking. And we are in this moving average sandwich. That's what I've been talking about a lot lately. You can also see it on the weekly chart, 13 EMA on the weekly chart. Does it now act as resistance? You can see how it acted as support on the way up. And we bounced, we rallied back up, then we failed. And I might argue that, this is the 30 SMA on the weekly chart, which is basically the same as the 200 SMA on the daily. So there's your moving average sandwich again. I mean, I will say these are tails. If the market accepts and we actually paint a 3rd higher low here, then we can start thinking bullish bots. And the good part about this is we are finally through this awful seasonal window. And maybe if we're lucky, we've seen a lot recently where the market actually bottoms into the Fed and then tops through the FOMC minutes. Maybe if we're really lucky, you can see we actually topped through this last FOMC. Maybe we bottom through the release of these minutes, because the Fed minutes actually start to say things like, well, maybe we're on the other side of this inflation problem, and we can start thinking about being a little easier on rates. And the whole damn market might just take off like a rocket as soon as that happens. And I could see that. They did that in Canada, and everything started to lift in Canada. And I don't have enough time, but maybe tomorrow I'll take a look at some of the China D stocks, because there's a bunch of China D stocks that are coming up on the screener as bullish, including okay. So let's head on over and answer that one question that was over there on the AMA document, and then I got to head off to Lily. And can you all please wish me an awesome afternoon with Liam, and actually wish Liam the best. Maybe you can do it ahead of time so I can see all your best wishes, because that's really my number one priority here. Is I got to figure, I just got to be in a good space to make sure I'm supporting Lily as best as I possibly can. Okay, so let's put that away. We're over here. What do I think of USDC? and this is just my opinion, and my opinion doesn't really mean much. So please understand that, everybody. I think that USDC actually is the stable coin of choice. I think that USDC was created by Goldman. Goldman runs the US government's financial side. And whatever Goldman, I think that crypto and Bitcoin are our future. And I think at the end of all of this, every single human is going to have a token. Your entire life is going to be on the blockchain, and every single thing that you do in your life is going to be tracked and, of course, taxed. This is the bankster's wet dream. So I think that the days of tether could actually be numbered. And actually, if you, I find it interesting. I don't know whether this guy is an agent of the government, but and the banksters, he might be. He talks a lot like the way the banksters talk, and he acts a lot like the way the banksters act. I'm sure he would probably refute it, but he has no love for crypto at all. And he has done a bunch of scathing reports on how criminal the crypto space is. But the long and short of it here is, I think that, things, in our newsletter this week, we talk about how the SEC is, going after things like MetaMask. They're trying as hard as they possibly can to put a lot of these sort of tertiary systems. I think that if you play ball with the powers that be and you grease the right palms, you'll do perfectly fine. I find it awfully mysterious that Ethereum still, you can't get an answer out of the people that are in charge of this game about whether Ethereum is actually a security or not, and why they would be not a security, but all the others are securities. Seems a little suspicious. So unfortunately, that's a really sad commentary on how weaponized this space is, and how weaponized regulatory bodies have become now. They are literally political puppets. Pathetic, really. But again, remember I had said earlier, and I've ever said this for years now, worst thing that possibly could happen to our Western civilization was the collapse of the Soviet Union. And we are now going back to a world of Dickinsonian type capitalism and Scrooge and debtors' prisons. And, you better, well, anyway, you know how that story goes. Okay, so I don't mind USDC just simply because I think that it is the puppet of the powers that be. Okay, could you please walk us through your fundamental reasoning for buying MicroCloud Hologram Inc. Holo? It's a total flyer. Company profile looks a little sketchy. Totally. I was sitting there on watching the YouTube channel, and they were talking about how it was a potential for a short squeeze, but the stock's a total dog. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And if anything, this is half the reason why I always say, follow your plans. Don't buy the shit that I buy, because half the time when I buy these names, they end up crapping out. I did a total flyer. It was a total low, less than, let's see if I can do the math. 1%, a half a percent of my portfolio, but no doubt about it, this thing's a piece of shit. And it's just dying 1,000 deaths here. This thing's a piece of garbage. Internals just look terrible. What was the reasoning behind picking this thing up? You can appreciate that it's at or below reload zones. So anything along those lines, I'm like, all right, little old ladies, fine. Actually, probably better. I don't know why I got a negative number like that. There we go. Let's draw this. Boosh. There we go. So on a log scale, I was kind of like, well, $2.5. Maybe I'll go pick up like a couple hundred shares. I bought it in here. I can tell you unequivocally, the day that it lost this low here, all bullishness for me just completely evaporated. Because it's a little old lady purchase, I don't really, how do we say this? It's not the end of the world if this thing goes off the board. I mean, I don't like it. And if anything, this is the reason why you do little old lady, is because you don't know in this stupid game. But let's see. I don't even think that the internals were even that good. This is a dog. I'm gonna no point in sugarcoating it. This thing was a poor buy at best. 81 million out. It's not terribly heavy, especially in this world where it's trillions market cap, billions of shares out. It's not that bad. Having said that, and a really good idea is like 20 to 30 million out. It's quite a bit of insider ownership. So I think what's happening here is the insiders, they don't really care too much what this thing does, but you can see it's bleeding money. They've got about 22 cents a share cash, and you can see that the book value of the assets of the company, $3.35. So I think that there's something stinky going on underneath the surface on something like this. And I think it's being highly manipulated. Having said that, is there any technical sort of justification for, yeah, this thing's a bull? No, none. If I do get a counter trend rally up into this area here over the next 6 to 8 months, might I just blow it out? Yeah, I might. I'm not really in a huge hurry. I think I picked like 300 shares at a couple bucks. So it worked out to, like I said, $600, which is about 0.5% of this retirement account that I have. So it's not the end of the world if it dies. Having said that, I'm not really too concerned. I mean, obviously, I don't like the price action. Don't get me wrong. But because it's such a small amount of money, and the stock is trading at such a ridiculous rate relative to its book value per share, it's technically worth $3 a share. I have a feeling what they're doing is they're just fucking around with the price to try and wash out as many weak hands as possible. I don't, it's interesting. The shares flowed here 24.99 million. So, from a shares actually out in the marketplace, that's pretty attractive, right? There's a lot of shares that are locked up. And they're not really carrying a ton of debt. That's pretty low. So just the question is why are they bleeding so much money here in the short term with regard to earnings? I mean, just really, really bad earnings. And can they, go to the market and actually, generate more interest in taking down more stock? Do they have to roll this thing back again? It wouldn't surprise me. Am I pounding the table that this thing is a buy? Absolutely not. Having said that, because it is trading at such a fraction of book value, they're not really carrying a hell of a lot of debt, and insiders own like 70% of the company. I'm not really in a huge hurry to do anything. Oh Jesus! Now what? What are you going on about? What question do you ask now? It is 5 minutes past the top of the hour. I thought I answered your question, Chris. Can you look and see what that person's talking about? It's driving me nuts. The recession thing. Well, I don't know. Maybe there'll be a recession. I doubt it. I think the US economy is doing perfectly fine. I think that China is a shit show, and you should stay the fuck away from this place. And it is a shit show, and it will be a shit show for the next 10 years at best. It's going to take a decade just to recover from the damage this doofus has done. Stay the hell away from Russia, another commodity country. Stay the hell away from Australia. It's another commodity country. United States of America, perfectly fine. And as Adam says, just go back. There was only one time in our sort of modern economic age where a recession did happen outside of that window, and that was 1974. And of course, that was all about the oil shock. So, to answer your question, if you have oil prices all of a sudden go crazy and break out to new highs, then yeah, you could maybe have a shock. And the bond market's not going to like that, and that inflation gauge that I showed you is going to take off and break out to new highs. But I don't see that happening just yet. And if anything, I don't think the Fed's in a huge hurry to lower interest rates. The economic data, as we pointed out in the newsletter, is relatively fine. The only reason why the Fed would actually cut rates is if there's some sort of crisis and they have to step in and bail the market out. And I don't see that happening. And I don't see why that would happen ahead of this election. And I hate to say it, but I might actually make the argument that if Mr. Trump is actually perceived to win, I think that the US economy and the US stock market is going to go absolutely apeshit bullish. And all this stupid woke nonsense about locking us in cupboards and well, anyway, blah blah blah. I think all that'll dissipate, and I think the United States will actually show how strong their economy actually is. And the irony of it all is that even Biden the other night even said, "Your dog in this economy that you actually put in place, so that's so strong right now, this doesn't make any sense." And I might have argued that if Biden had kept his senses and just kept along those lines, instead of talking about stupid things like your golf handicap, he would have done perfectly fine. But unfortunately, is showing his age. And as a result, ironically enough, we'd actually talked about this a lot. I originally said the day that he lost that election, don't be surprised if 4 years from now, he's right back in office. And I still think that that's what's going to happen. All right, so there's your commentary here for today, broiler chickens. I did respond to that question, and you're absolutely right. That stock was a piece of shit. Because I little old ladied it, not really worried about risk. That's half the reason why I do the little old lady. And should I get any kind of half decent rally back up, maybe even to fill in this gap, you might just find that I say, oh, I blew the position out because it was a dog. But I don't have to be in a huge hurry to panic to do anything. And if this thing takes a year or two to clean itself up and get back up top, if this thing can actually put in a bottom, because like I said, relative to book value, insider ownership, it's actually not a bad idea, but the problem is that they're still bleeding money. And so as a result, this thing is a piece of shit right now. And I don't have a problem saying that, yeah, this was a really bad pick on my part. We're statisticians. You're never going to be right 100% of the time. And for God's sakes, if you leverage traded this thing, you got to get the hell out of there when they break down through these lows. So I hope that at least speaks to the question. Unfortunately, I can't wave a magic wand and correct the problem. And a great analogy that you will never be right 100% of the time in this game. Never, 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 never. Just you have to build into your plan that sometimes you will have dogs like this. And half of our education program is to set you up. How are you going to deal with being wrong in the market? If you're a little old lady, you just take it in stride. Next bus in 10 minutes, not that big of a deal. If you're a margin or leverage trader, you had to admit that you were wrong and get the heck out of there on this breakdown through this low. So there you go. All right, let's leave it at that. Wish me luck on the road with Lily. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wood nickels. Remember what your number one job is. The only thing left to say to you good people is bye for now.